A salute to the cowboy, to the men who jump from one horse to a steer 35 miles an hour. That's bulldogging. I don't know if we ought to salute them or not, or try to buy them new life insurance. I'm Bob Tallman, and today I'd like to look back in the history books to a guy named Herman Mandeville. This man qualified for the Canadian finals and won the title many times. But in this era, we're talking to people like the Butterfields. I can't talk about all of them because there's 3 generations of them, about 4 families. They come from all over Canada, and just to remember their names when they ride is enough. But so, some of the greatest cowboys in all of Canadian rodeo. A special salute today to a gentleman named Joe Comistic, who is a farmer in Canada, and on the weekends he borrows other men's horses and rides and wins. 7 times he's qualified for the Canadian finals, and Pretty Nancy Southern will have that story with Joe Comistic. And right after that, we're going to take you into the dressing room, into the Cowboys training room, to find out when you don't have it mentally, physically, or morally to go because of physical fitness problems. You may be disjointed or sore, have broken bones, how to tape. Mike Adams, with his sports knowledge of other sports, and Don Andrews, our Justin healer, will give you that story. We'll be right back with bulldogging and a lot of good action right after this message from our commercial sponsor. Why would a man jump off a perfectly good horse, a beautiful saddle, pay money to do it? To win money, I guess. This event right here doesn't really have anything to do with rodeo. We don't do this. They're hollering, go boy, why? Now somebody hollers, jump, get down, save your life. The man's Ken Watterson from Kamloops, BC. He's trying. Lost the horn, reach, pull, fall. Rotten old steer doesn't want to lay down. All of that for personal prestige, a few bucks. You know, they started this on a borrowed horse, and a black cowboy originated this. He grabbed the steer one day in the arena, bit him on the lip, and turned him over. He did it in a few seconds. They paid him money. Now men do it every day, every rodeo around the country, and I don't know why. Watch closely. This is the only event in this sport where another man, as a hazer, the assistant on the far side over there, becomes a helper. He doesn't need any help. He can do it all by himself. They call him the macho man, the big guys. Watterson is a big guy. He's 12-6 today. That's 26.1 on 2 right here. That cost him a lot of time. But right here's a good place to get your guts cut out. I had a chance to talk to Tom Ferguson, a man who's won over $750,000 about rodeo earlier today. Let's talk to him then. Tom, you're the number 10 man in the bulldogging, and you left here the other night thinking you wouldn't get back. You've been to Dallas. The travel in this business is enough to frustrate a guy, to drive you to drink. Why did you leave, and how did you luckily get back today for today's competition?
Well, I left Friday night, and there's 5 or 6 guys left that could move me. I was sitting 10th then, so I thought for sure I would make the final. So I flew to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Jimmy Cooper traveled with him, and he called me last night, said I made the finals, and see if I can make it back up here today. I flew out of Dallas this morning to Calgary. I had to go through customs and get to the other plane. I had 5 minutes from when one landed to the other one took off, so it was kind of rough to make it over there.
You're on your way to winning $1 million. You'll be the first man in history in pro rodeo to do that. And this kind of a lifestyle has got to be taxing on your mind and on your body. How do you put up with it?
Well, it's something you enjoy doing. I've won really good, and I enjoy rodeoing and a lot of the people around the rodeos, and it's just a challenge to me to try to win some more.
Coming from Miami, Oklahoma, up here to Canada to win, and thinking about, as you read in the paper, some of our hockey players up here getting $1.5 million a year for 15 years, $18 million to the great Gretzky for 15 years. You're about to win your first $1 million across that mark. In comparison to hockey and football, where they have a guaranteed wage, how do you feel about the money you've won, and how do you feel about pro rodeo now, 10 years later?
Well, I've won a lot of money rodeo, and the contestants, we think we deserve a little better share of the prize money or the gate money than what we've gotten. But when we went into the sport of rodeo, we knew what the money was like, and we do it because we enjoy it.
You're 3 3/10 seconds behind the leader going into the second steer. What are your chances of winning that extra $1 here today?
Well, they pay 8 monies in the average, so there's 10 guys that make it. So actually, I have to beat 2 guys to be in the money. I have a steer that's a pretty good steer, runs a little bit, and I think I can maybe move up to about 3rd. So that'd be pretty good bucks.
Pretty good bucks. He ought to spend some of those bucks on a jet airplane. This guy needs a pilot and a Learjet. Watch him. $750,000 won. Doesn't really make much to him about winning $1 million. This man is phenomenal. We call him Mr. Bionics. The States look at that. Smooth. Oh, boy, they love him. And you know, he's not a personality. 5'1" today. He's a hero here this afternoon. Tom Ferguson, he's just a guy. College graduate, got a nice brother, comes from normal parents. What makes him special? He doesn't make any mistakes, and he is fluid. That 5-1 that he thought wouldn't do him any good as he came in here with a 13-6 now puts him 18-7 to the lead on 2. Look at the size of this monster, man. He got a lot of milk as a kid, I guarantee you. All the grass that he ate turned into muscle. There's one of the Butterfield boys right behind him. That name Butterfield has come up many times in Canada and in rodeo. And Gerald Hayes, the Rocky Mountain House, is down and in trouble, out of position. I told you he was big. Now he's going to put the power on him. He did it totally out of position. Whoops, be careful. Be careful. That's a dangerous position to be in right there. But look at the size of him. He's got to be playing hockey. He's as big as Gretzky. Doesn't have a number 99 on his shirt, but he doesn't need one. The uniform in this sport hasn't changed in over 100 years. A tall crowned hat and a pair of high-heel boots, a long-sleeve shirt. Those are some of the things that we're saluting today. 21-9 on 2, that's a little long. Joe Comistic, not a normal name that you'd find every day. Not a normal guy that you'd find every day. This guy's a farmer, and he's proud of it. He's one of the people that puts the good stuff on your table, and Nancy Southern is going to find out about that right now.
Joe, you're coming into the finals in 8th place. Does that put a little added pressure on you to really go out and have a good ride?
Right. I don't have much of a chance of winning first at this rodeo, but I do hope to improve my position perhaps to 4th if I make a good run on the steer I have. However, the steer I have today is a steer that the only time that's been made on him was by Gerald Hayes. He was 8-7 on the steer, and as a result, I hope to improve on that, but it's going to be very difficult to make a good run on him.
And that's the luck of the draw, isn't it?
That's right, you bet. The Cowboys are always involved in the luck of the draw, and we just have to accept that fact. One day I'll draw a good one. Well, perhaps one thing is that rodeo is actually a hobby for me. I have a business full-time besides rodeo, and perhaps I don't put as much effort as some of the other fellows into it. So I'm very pleased with my performance, even though I haven't won a Canadian championship.
He's pleased with his performance, he says. Can you say that? Can you say that about everything in your life? Cowboys basically can. That doesn't mean that they're special or any better than anybody else, but they're pleased with being cowboys. That's something totally different. This man's pleased every day. Right now, he's not pleased. He gets up with his hat in his hand, puts it back on. That means it's all over. Back to the farm. Thank God there are men like Joe Comistic. Look at that. His back says, thanks, buddy. Just didn't work. Took the jump. Didn't fit. Steer wasn't there. But that tractor will be waiting for him in the morning. That's all he's got to look forward to as he goes back to Scandia, Alberta. Now from Spanish Fork, let's take a look at Dwayne Sorensen. See, he shapes his hat different than Joe Comistic, wears a different kind of shirt, rides a different horse, holds the reins different, does everything different. He does it his way, his style. That's why he's a cowboy. This sport, this industry allows that. It also allows him to win with a 4.8 and a nice run. That puts him 17 flat on 2, and he goes to the lead. Now, that may or may not stay in the lead, but he's up, walking back. He's fresh, he's ready, he's in good shape, physical condition. All of those things make a difference. Let's take a look at the instant replay for a minute and think about one more thing. What do you do to get in physical condition? Well, if you're big and strong and you've got a physical lifestyle, you can stay that way. If you're not, you have to work at it. Every man is different, every run is different, and we're going to learn more about that as the steer wrestling continues. Paul Hughes, Lance Robinson, Bland, Hunt, and Ole Smith in just a minute. Remember, this is a salute to the cowboy, and our salute to the cowboy will continue with more steer wrestling. I'm Bob Tallman. Stay with us, won't you? A former FBI agent, a rancher in Wyoming, a steer wrestler, a national finals qualifier, and a great man, Fred Larson.
As a steer wrestler, Fred, do you have an advantage over the other cowboys being as big as you are?
I don't think it's definitely an advantage. There are times when you draw a little stouter cattle, it helps, but really bulldogging is more of a use of weights and kind of like judo, so I don't think that really size helps you that much.
The horse is very important in steer wrestling.
About 90%.
And when you travel from rodeo to rodeo, Do you have to rely on your buddies to provide a good horse for you, or do you bring your own horses along?
Well, I try to bring my own horse as much as possible, but if you're flying or working a lot of rodeos, you'll usually fly in and get on somebody else's.
How long does it take, really, to train a rodeo, steer wrestling?
Well, as you know about jumping horses, it just seems like forever. It's a constant program. About the time you think you got one working good, you need to go back and tune him up again.
Tune him up, he says. That big fella can tune up an elephant. Fred Larson, nice to have you with us here today. Now, here's a kind of a special guy. He's a family man, cowboy Christian leader. This is Paul Hughes. He's a calf roper, a bulldogger, a steer wrestler. That's what they call him here. And he did it in 3.9. We've got a new leader. Now watch him when he gets up. Bet he doesn't even smile. Yeah, a little tip of the hat. Just walks away, brushes the dirt off. He's a ranch-raised cowboy, a college graduate, and a fine, fine man. Why was he 3.9? He did everything right. He's cool. Ice water runs in this guy's veins. Very modest, just a fine, fine fellow. And that's the guy they're going to be trying to beat. Now, he's young. He's about 28 years old, but here comes a younger fella now, and I want to talk to him for a minute. Lance Robinson from Bountiful, Utah. And listen to this story. Lance, at 25 years old, you may be a little more daredevilish. You may take some chances these guys 30, 35, and 40 won't take. Do you think your age and your ability now gives you an advantage to beat the rest of these bulldoggers?
Yeah, I think age helps a lot, but I think draws and experience is real important.
Now, the luck of the draw, as you say, or as I say, the luck of the draw, the kind of steer you have today, do you know what steer you have yet?
Yes, sir.
What's this steer going to do as an advantage for you, or what are the disadvantages of this particular animal?
Well, he's not quite as good a steer as I'd like to draw, and he runs pretty good. Steve Bland and Tom Ferguson both had him, and I believe they were 7s on him.
How long do you need to be today to go to the lead?
Well, it depends on what the people do behind me and in front of me. I imagine you'd have to be 4 or 5 to go to the lead.
We're an hour away from the competition right now as we're talking, and as we move closer to it, what strategy, mentally, will you work on to go through the moves of what you have to do to throw this steer down right, and then hopefully that time will make up and make you the champion? What's going through your mind right now?
Well, most important, I'd just like to get out real good and get a good solid catch on him, and then hope he just doesn't outstout me.
You're a long ways from home. Whose horse are you riding today?
My horse.
Okay, now you've hauled your horses all the way up here to Canada. That's a strain on the horse. What have you done for the last 10, 12 days while you've been up here to prepare this horse for the cold weather? And what have you done to get him ready and acclimated for this particular run?
Well, I don't know that you can acclimate him up here at all except with blankets, keeping a lot of feed in him for energy.
Now, is he going to have the energy that you need to get out of that barrier and get there at the right time?
I think so. Hope so.
Look at the intenseness in this kid's face. I like this young man right here, Lance Robinson. There's a lot about him to like. I'm only about 9 years older than he is, and he called me sir, something you don't hear much today. Right now, he's thinking nothing about sir. He's thinking nothing about winning. Doing it right, he said first. Strategy. There's his strategy. We just talked about it a minute ago, and now the strategy. He had a long reach on that steer. He's a big kid. He's got long arms. Look at there. Just up, hop. He said he had to be 4'5". He's 5'4". That's just the opposite of that, but he'll be second with a 16-9 right now. He's from Utah. About the only cowboy here today from Utah. But as I said earlier, it doesn't make any difference where you come from, who your dad is, whether he was a congressman or a millionaire. You got to be yourself. That's why we're saluting these men. That's why this program is what it is. And you think about that in your lifestyle. I don't care what they call you. You don't have to be a cowboy. But a salute to a man and why he does something is very important. This young man right here has religiously put his life together in rodeo. This is Steve Bland. He comes from Trent, Texas. He has won the Bill Lindemann Award. That means that he's won over $1,000 in 3 events in 1 year. And one of those has to be in a riding event. He's a bareback rider, calf roper, bulldogger, steer roper, team roper. A family man. He has a wife, children. He's a third-generation cowboy, one of the largest cattle feeders in West Texas. Right now, his industry in the cattle business is in trouble, but his rodeo business is good. Steve Bland today was 6'3". He's 18-1 on 2. How can a man live all of those different lifestyles? His older brother did it, Rex. Younger brother, John, is a bull rider. They're all family people. 3rd and 4th generation families out of West Texas. A great bunch of people to talk about. Steve Bland, another man who I've made a mile or two with, and I'm proud to say I can salute him as a cowboy and know him as an individual. Andrew Hunt comes from Lethbridge, Alberta. Andrew Hunt is one of the rookies. Young fella, Indian cowboy. Here he wears the colors of his tribe. A little extra color, you might say. Nod, ride to him, cowboy. No matter where you're from or who you are, what you've done. Unless you don't get off when you're supposed to, he couldn't. He committed himself, though, and had to take the fall. That's about all you're going to see of Andrew Hunt. Remember the name, though. He'll be back. He'll be back for another salute, another day, another rodeo, another place. Even though no time today, that's just something that happens. You don't get a paycheck every trip. I had a chance to talk to another different kind of a guy, Ole Smith. And I want you to hear his story. He comes from Del Rio, Texas. Here's a third-generation champion as well. The steer you have drawn and what you have to do in the calf rope and put those two runs together, there's only one event in between them. There's a lot of hustle, a lot of hurry. A lot of mistakes could be made if you're not mentally prepared. What are you thinking about right now, Ole?
I'm thinking about running this bulldog and steer first. I got everything ready for the calf rope and putting my rope on. This bulldog and steer I got is, he's only been caught about twice, and he really runs hard, and he'll try to get in front of the hazer. But now that we know the steer, I think we'll be all right on it. I'm just going to do the best I can on it. Hope that's good enough.
Is this that red and white steer we watched last night?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, I watched a guy catch him last night. They said that was the first time in about 10 runs that anybody caught that steer. What kind of strategy do you try to get out of there and try to get to him since you know he's going to move over in front of the hazer?
Well, I'm going to have my hazer, Larry Ferguson. I'm riding his team of horses. I'm going to have him be up there and block him off there. So, we're going to set a trap for him and hopefully get him caught.
What happens if the trap don't work?
Hell, might miss him.
Now, that means if you miss him, you ride by. Being in first place, all of that hard work that you've already done in the first round's gone.
Well, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm not planning on that, Bob.
Don't worry about it. All right, Ole. Don't worry about it. Go ahead, do your thing. His younger brother's an AJRA champion. His daddy is an old-time steer rope and a calf rope. They're ranchers from Del Rio. They run about 60,000 acres. Right now, he's in less than a half an acre to try to win it all. 4-5-5 now, going by 6. Ole, what are you going to do? What he thought about and what he did were two different things. He's 7-5 today. That puts him 17-8. I don't think that's going to place on two steers, but look here. Just a big, happy-go-lucky Dennis the Menace kind of guy. Watched him win over $12,000 in less than 2 hours at Denver a couple of years ago. Ended up with he only won $16,000 for the year, but this year he said, I'm not going to make those same mistakes again. Today he might have made a little mistake, but the luck of the draw, all the things we've talked about, all the cliches in our sports field of rodeo are gone by us now. It's all over. That's Ole Smith for the last time you'll see him on this screen, but you'll see him again. He's here for a long time. With a 15-9, Paul Hughes won it all. Lance Robinson and Dwayne Sorensen. Let's talk to our champion and see what he has to say with Nancy Southern.
Paul, you came into the finals in 5th place and came out with a super time. What were you thinking about when you were sitting there waiting for your steer to come up?
Well, I knew I had a good steer, and I just was wanting him to get in there so I could run him and see how things turned out.
How important is the horse in your event?
Well, in this instance, I feel like he's 90% the best, On a steer like I had today, I had a steer that's a little bit hard to catch. If a horse runs too tight, it's too hard to catch him. If a horse runs perfect route, then he's easy to catch, and that's just what the horse did today.
This is one of your few trips up to Canada. Do you like the Canadian rodeos, and do you think we'll see you back here again?
Yeah, I think so. The conditions have always been good, and the money's better up here as far as like the summer rodeo. This rodeo is as good a rodeo paying as most rodeos we have in the States, with the exception of the great big buildings.
Talking about big buildings and big rodeos, remember, coming up July 9th to the 18th, a $500,000 payoff, $50,000 first to our Cowboys at the Calgary Stampede, the greatest show on earth. We'll be back with more salutes to the Cowboys. We've had a chance to show you how to get killed and how to break your arms and twist your knees and tear the cartilage out and sprain your ankles. Right now, we'd like to show you how a man who may be in that condition prepares himself for the physical damage beyond if he's not ready. Into the training room with Mike Adams and Don Andrews. How to tape. There are many other professional trainers in many other sports. Don Andrews is our first, and Mike Adams is with him right now. Michael?
Don Andrews from Fort Worth, Texas, is a trainer to the professional Cowboys. Unlike most professional sports, hockey and football, where they have trainers traveling with them all the time, Cowboys are pretty much loners. And Don, have you found it pretty tough getting Cowboys convinced that they do need a trainer?
In the early portion of our program, we found them a little standoffish, but as they learned what sports medicine could do for them, they found out that it was one of the best ways they could help prevent the injuries that they're going to occur, you know, down the road. So it's worked out really well for both sides, for both the Cowboy and our program.
I would imagine that perhaps bareback and bull riders can benefit most from your expertise in, say, taping arms. Hyperextended elbows have to be a common complaint of cowboys.
Right, that's most prevalent among bareback riding, and it's just that you've got so much force on the end of the arm that it takes that arm into hyperextension, and that's always a problem with bareback. We've tried different taping methods, but it's sort of funny. They have come up with basically their own, through evolution, I guess you could say, of how much beating that they take. They've come up with some pretty good techniques on their own. We've just tried to streamline those, give them a few ideas. But again, we don't have enough information right now to know exactly, you know, what type of forces they're taking. We know that they're great, but we don't know exactly how much.
I understand there's a great sports medical hospital down in Fort Worth, Texas, doing great work in that area.
Well, there's a lot of good facilities all over the country, and there are a lot of good ones in Canada, too. It's just that we need to get sports medicine into rodeo because the rodeo cowboy is an athlete. A lot of people look at him as maybe not in that vein, but he is definitely an athlete. He may be one of the North America's most natural athletes.
What is the most common area of concern for cowboys as far as you've found?
Well, I feel that it's in the severe trauma. In other words, in the head and neck injury. I think the potential for injury is great in rodeo as any other professional sport. I know I spent 12 years in pro hockey and never really saw a life-threatening condition, but it's very common to see that type of situation arise here, especially in bareback, where they're getting thrown off the back of a horse, and especially from certain heights, 6, 8 feet, they're falling on their neck. And that concerns me greatly. Fortunately, we've been very lucky.
Thank you, Michael. I hope that'll give you an idea of what we're trying to do to give a cowboy an advantage. Sometimes why they do it, physically injured the way they are, I don't know. But cowboys, you can't tell a cowboy what he wants to do. He knows and he'll try. Tape, it just creates a little elasticity. You know, I hope you've enjoyed what we've had in our steer wrestling and all of the other events today, but I'd like to create a new salute to the cowboy and talk about broncs, bulls, and boxing. Black Diamond, Alberta is a place on the 4th of July during the summer where Geordie and Kirk Thompson at their ranch provide a rodeo, and it's also a place where cowboys take all of their year grudges out on each other. No, they don't try to beat each other in the arena. They beat each other half to death in a boxing ring. And this year, all of the funds that are being raised by the cowboy boxing go to the people in Black Diamond to try to build a new community center. So Geordie and Kirk Thompson are going to take you to their ranch, into their home, and give you an insight on what cowboys do. Broncs they ride, bulls they try, boxing they do. On behalf of Nancy Southern and Mike Adams, I'm Bob Tallman with a salute to the cowboys. Thank you for being with us on CFCN Television.